Welcome to ETMA Tech Talk, the podcast that unveils forces shaping the future of tech. In each episode, we bring together visionary leaders, forward-thinking innovators, and game-changing experts who are transforming the enterprise tech landscape. Listen to insider perspectives, dive into bold stories of digital transformation and strategic breakthroughs. Here is your host, ETMA's Managing Director, Joe Basili.
Christopher Carter is a veteran enterprise technology leader in SAP and cloud ecosystems and four-time best-selling author. For almost 30 years, he has helped global organizations modernize SAP systems, migrate to the cloud, and unlock value in applications. Chris is the founder of multiple technology companies, including Approyo, an SAP service providers with thousands of SAP environments under management worldwide, and Mugatu, focused on bringing AI into the enterprise. And he has his own bar and a restaurant as well. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much. There's a reason why I keep pulling all my hair out. When you sleep 4 hours a day and your brain is always working on something, it's fun. That's what being an entrepreneur is, though. I call myself a mini Elon Musk. I'm just taller and heavier.
So let's talk a little bit about Approyo. And can you tell us about the specialty areas and areas of focus?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So Approyo, I started because I saw a gap in the SAP ecosystem. As the quote unquote godfather of SAP cloud, I wanted to be able to take that cloud mechanism and I wanted to be able to help companies streamline a cloud implementation or migrations. I wanted them to be able to have an application or a structure that would allow organizations running SAP. Now, SAP owns literally 93.7% of all financial transactions run through an SAP system. So there's a lot of people out there working on SAP or in SAP, these systems. So I wanted to make life easier in supporting those environments. What we do is we're in the back office. We hide in back, meeting people and customers. Well, you do that for my position as a CEO, of course, but in the back room, you got to take care of these systems. They cannot go down in any way, shape, or form. So what happened is many years ago now, we created a tool called Overwatch. And that AI Overwatch tool not only does predictive analytics on the SAP environment, but it also helps with your entire landscape. So you can, all of your databases, all of your network traffic, all of your IP, anything that's touching your system, and not only SAP, but other applications around it. And so with those two hand in hand, it really helps the individuals who are the technologists in the back room working on the infrastructure, the cloud, the network, and so on, to be able to do their jobs easier and in a predictive analytic format using homomorphic encryptions and data processing. We're able to help them with that.
And many organizations look at SAP and cloud migrations and they're like, oh, this is such a cost center. Let's not spend the money. How do you reframe that discussion as something geared towards growth?
That's a great question because I hear it every time I walk into a CFO or a CEO who's being hammered by the board about costs or all these supposed tariffs that they're nailed with. So the first thing I say is, look, you've got a fully functioning SAP environment. Let me show you what predictive analytics does. Let me show you what AI does as part of it. Let me show you why you should put this in a cloud and how you minimize your risk and you can minimize your cost structure. Because let's be honest, people throw things up in the cloud all the time. They forget about it or they don't dial them in. They don't tweak them. Well, that's where we come in. We're experts at that. When we tell folks and SAP says, look, it's mandatory. 2027, you must be on a cloud. So what we'll do is we'll go in and we'll show them. We literally landscape their entire current landscape to a new landscape. And then we dial it in. Guys, you're wasting this, and this. Why are these even here? Do you need them? Oh, by the way, this, they go away. You don't have to have that anymore. And then we show them their infrastructure. And most companies take Azure, so I'll use Azure as a reference point here. It's interesting. People who know the bare metal world or the VM world, they don't know what's happening in a cloud. They just throw it up there size for size. And I'm like, guys and gals, this is not the case. You can minimize your size First of all, you're using HANA, the in-memory database tool, instead of other databases. So you can do a compression. Let's get the best compression you possibly can. Oh, by the way, you're still using 7.5 million EDI transactions are in your storage. Why? You don't need something from 10 years ago. You don't even need something from anything more than 7 years based upon the IRS and the basic accounting transaction. So you get rid of the old data and you put it in some type of a data lake or blob storage. Now you're saving yourself even more money because, well, you just had that storage sitting there for no reason whatsoever. Now all of a sudden you're faster, cleaner, easier to be able to utilize and run. And the organization, now you see the costs coming down. And I show them all that. We demo all that. We put that together in graphs. We show them the activities based upon their current environment, their could be environment, and what it will be on SAP as a network. And people just are blown away. Oh, no, I was told it was going to be this. Well, you don't need that. And oh, by the way, you now don't have to buy as many SAP licenses. You reduced your cost structure on that as well. Let me just help you reduce costs across the board first and foremost and go from there.
But what do you see enterprises often get wrong about the economics of SAP cloud as well as AI?
That's a great question because I sat on that side of the desk. I used to be in the CIO's office in the finance and have to deal with that. And when I started this company almost 15 years ago now, one of the things that I did, first thing I did is I said, we're going to every single customer that I've ever talked to and that we are working with, and I'm going to make sure that they are cleaned up from an expense accounting format. Now, a lot of times back then, we weren't necessarily using cloud, but now it's the most prevalent tool that everybody uses. It's, here's my credit card, let's just get it up there, or here's my PO, let's get it up there. Thank you, Microsoft. So the first thing that we do when we talk to these organizations, say, I want to see your Microsoft dashboard. I want to see what your servers are. I want to see what your storage is. I want to see what systems you're using. What region are you in? Why are you taking the most top tier storage and utilizing that for a basic JavaScript app that you're running some little thing? Why are you doing that? That's 10 times the amount of money that you need to be running. Then I ask them about their storages, and we go through this whole process, and especially around the SAP ecosystem. For SAP, you want one system of truth, and that maintains a HANA database in a production environment. But why, again, like I made reference a couple minutes ago, do you have 7.5 million EDI transactions from 20 years ago that you think that you should put in there? You do realize that instead of an instantaneous grabbing of data, if you put it into a blob storage and you bring in the data that you actually need, instead of a millisecond, maybe it's a second. Would you know the difference when you're running your reports? Let's get rid of X and put it on a blob storage or some type of a storage piece where it's nanocents for dollars and cents. Let's make sure that you've compressed your production data and you've got the best compression from a HANA database because it's mandatory to be on HANA. And then let's go through your landscape. Why do you have, and I kid you not, Joe, why do you have 17 sandboxes?
Oh my gosh.
They were building sandboxes just so individuals could one-off do some type of development or app development, and then they wouldn't shut it down. And people would leave. In one case, I know of an individual within the organization that unfortunately was killed in a car accident, and nobody knew that this individual had multiple systems set up there doing things. And so there was no tracking mechanism. We'll come in and we'll look at all that dashboard. We'll look at everything before they go to the migration, and we'll work through those processes because I tell everybody, I'm going to make sure that your cost structure is lower than what it was as bare metal or VM based on site or in your data center before we even get it up into that cloud. And then we're going to monitor that system for growth. What can we pull out on a yearly basis and move to blob? Because that's another piece where people think, oh, we've done it. It's good. Hey, all of a sudden they forget about it. A year goes by, another year goes by, and they start seeing these incremental costs. They see their backups going up. They see their storage costs going up. You have to plan a yearly process. Some companies I know do a monthly process where they're going through the process and shipping something over. If it was January 7 years ago, it's now January 7 year and 1 is over now into the new storage system. And it's a very easy process to, once you get it standardized, there's tools that allow you to do that. And the cost structure to putting it over there rather than paying for that application support is so minimal. You're talking right to my heart. That's why I love talking with you, because that piece right there, saving the dollars and cents, it now does make it a profit center rather than a cost center.
So when it comes to SAP implementations and AI implementations, where are you seeing some real tangible wins? Can you give us some anecdotes with clients?
I instantly started thinking of a couple of organizations. When it comes to SAP, I look at the AI implementation and the usage of AI. And they have a great tool called Joule, and it's integrated into literally what there were 700 and some templates the last time I looked. I think that was like 4 or 5 days ago. There's 700 templates and there's 400 plus use cases and growing. So when we look at it, I look at it as twofold: technical side and the end user side. From an end user perspective, the finance teams are using them. The HR teams are using them. One of the best use cases that they have is the automation of capabilities for end users to validate their vacation time, to schedule their vacation times, to what is my vacation allotments, giving people access to do the things that they can do on their own rather than having them interfere with people and taking out costs. Another one is the finance side. You now are automating the AP/AR activities, and you have that being done automated process from Joule. And you then also have it going to the right cost centers, and everything gets laid out, and you can put that into Joule as part of a template. I love those activities because it takes it out of the hands of the bigger, better, smarter, stronger, faster human being who's doing that work, because now they're just working within the Joule template or the AI template and giving them those capabilities. And then from the back end, where I like to live in the technical, I love the fact that we now have tools in place, because we still do development, and you have to develop, and it's minor compared to what it used to be with all the Z codes and everything that we used to do. But now we can use tools like Joule, or I love Claude. The newest, latest, and latest Claude is fantastic for us developers. I throw in my code and I validate it. Everyone in my company, from a development standpoint, who does any coding for us it's mandatory that they have to validate their code in our Claude box. We don't have an open, it's ours. And that's mandatory. I mandated that about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and you see so many less errors. It's incredible right now, Joe. The errors are being wiped away, and it helps us because we're playing in sandboxes that sometimes doesn't have all the data that we need. You usually take a production copy and copy a sandbox, and sometimes we haven't done that. Well, we also take AI then to take those copies and bring it down. And what it does is instead it brings down the newest, latest data from this time period to this time period. And it gives us, as well as the companies that we work with, the benefit of having the latest and greatest. And that's all AI based. We just ask for it. It goes through our processes and away it goes.
Can you walk us through any before and after stories about implementations?
Oh, yes. So I will not throw anybody under this bus, but I can tell you right now, I would love to throw this one company under a bus. They decided they didn't want to use our organization, and that's fine. Sometimes just use me as knowledge. I'm fine with that. But we were bigger, better price points, blah, blah, blah. And they told me that after the fact. Went through the process. They started going through their upgrade process, and they chose an offshore company. And that offshore company literally dropped 150 people virtually and another almost close to 100 people on their doorstep in North Carolina. And literally about 3 months later, I got a call and said, please help. Some of these people don't even speak English, and some of these people don't even know what the hell they're doing. I don't know why they're here. We don't know what's going on. They're not tracking. They're not having weekly meetings. The PM's been swapped out 3 times. This person's been, or this team member. And so literally they put an entire stop to the program. They fired that organization. We negotiated with them, and we told them what we expect from them, and our demands were met. We came in at the same price point that we originally did, which is literally the same, went from there. And now they've got a clean, fully functioning, 100% up and we manage and support them as well. And the interesting thing is you get some of these organizations that have those problems. I know another organization that literally were having issues. It's one of the big four, and they literally stopped their entire program. They asked me to come in and interview them about some of the activities that they were doing. And I walked in, and lo and behold, there was somebody actually across the desk that I actually knew from their organization. I said, what the hell is going on here? Why am I being called in for them when it's your project? It was funny because I'm really good friends with their managing director. I know them by other projects. And literally we sat down. I said, you know what? We need to get out of here. Let's go down the street. We went down, we had a Philly steak sandwich and sat and had some waters because I drink water. And we just sat and talked. And I literally looked at her and I said, look, I don't know what you're coming across with them, but you're coming across with me as somebody who's not necessarily as competent as you should be and as strong, and you're supposed to be the PM. So let's rework some of the things that you work with them or say to them and how you position pieces. Bring them into it. Make it known that you know what you're doing and this is what we should be doing, and I'd like to get your feedback on it. Or, hey, we're going to phase 2 of this, and this is where we're going, and this is why we're doing it. And give them the why you're doing this. What does it mean to our company? What does it mean to us as the end users? Give them some more character. Let them see some from you. Don't be a dead fish. Give them some character. Be the team. They're scared. And you're not helping. You're fostering that scared person in them to come out. Don't be scared. And so you get some of those. Now, on the other hand, Joe, we've got people that we work with and customers that we work with that want to be involved. We get them involved from day one. We constantly have team meetings. We're working through the processes. You've got your change meetings that happen. You've got activities that go on. I'm all about fostering a relationship of togetherness. We are the experts, and we're going to tell you we're the experts because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You've never done an S4 RISE migration in your life. So don't tell me what I should be doing just because you read something on inside SAP. I'm going to tell you what really happens when you do some of that BS that's out there. Because at the end of the day, you hired me for my expertise, not my good looks, and not because I take you out to a hockey game or a baseball game or feed you a bottle of scotch. You hired us for our expertise, and we hire certified consultants. That's where some of the difference is. People come in and they're not certified, so they've never worked on a project. They've never been a part of an implementation or an upgrade. And to me, that's scary. Oh, and by the way, you, Mr. Customer, you haven't done any organizational change management. That's why I know you don't know anything about a RISE migration. Because once you get into the organizational change management, then it opens up, and then you see eyeballs open up going, holy cow, we got to do all of this yet in order to get this success? Yes, but once you get that training and you do that, that's when the success. That's why Rocky, my sign for Rocky is keep moving forward. An SAP RISE migration is going to knock you down, and he's going to jab, and it's going to try to keep you down there, and it's going to try to take you longer and harder. But once you get that change management from an organization, oh my God, people's eyes are like, man, we can do this, this, and this, and we are going to be able to change this. And just keep moving forward like Rocky. So you've got both sides of the coin, positives and negatives.
Can you give us some other examples of technological challenges that you saw with client implementation where you were able to turn it around and make it into some sort of strategic breakthrough for them?
Oh, absolutely. I know customers that were on ECC Enhancement Pack 0. They had old equipment that was so out of validity that literally we couldn't do certain things until we updated components of the technology. And they were just like, well, we've already paid for this. Why are we changing it? Why do we need to do this? And I get that. That's part of being fiscally responsible as from an organizational standpoint. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't keep your system up to snuff with SAP or with some of the other applications that are out there. So what changes their mind completely is when they go from that old archaic infrastructure and they're now on new cloud infrastructure, and we get that organizational change management on just that technical side of it. Oh, wow. Individuals from the technical background where I live, they're just amazed and floored at how much faster, how much easier, how their job can be produced so much faster, how they're going to be able to grow as an individual in that company. I want you to be the bigger, better, faster, stronger you, because you're the one that's going to use the SAP environment. You're going to use the infrastructure from the cloud. You're going to use the AI tools. You're going to be the one that uses those to make everything else better and bring it up. And so from a technical standpoint, that organization, it was so much fun, at least for me, because I'm one of those guys that believes in helping people. I take my hand down the corporate ladder and I raise people up. The young man that was a part of that, when I say young man, I'm in my 56, he was in his 30s and was at that organization, was kind of just floundering. And I took him under my wing and we started learning Azure. And I learned some new things as well every day. He jumped into the Azure side for SAP and he literally shot up. He is now, it's 2025, almost 2026. So this would be 5, 6. So almost 6, 7 years ago now, he's now their CIO. Great young man. He's still in his 30s and he learned everything inside and out. He just loved it. It's kind of like when somebody has a side hustle and they do that side hustle so well because it's something they have passion for. Oh my God, he went to every Azure class possible. He went to every SAP technical class. He had a ball. And now he's the CIO. He's a great young kid. And he is, to be honest, I think he's going to go one of these days to one of these Fortune 10 companies and knock on their door and say, look, I'm CIO here, but I want to be your CIO because of this. And so for me, that's why I love working with people. It's such a passion and I love doing that. I love seeing that success in people.
So you've written about the illusion of security in enterprises.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some uncomfortable truths about cybersecurity, if you will, that leaders that you talk with don't want to hear, but they really need to address it.
Oh, yes. That's that book right there, the red one. That's Mastering SAP with Security. I'm very fortunate. It was my 4th bestseller because I literally shipped that to almost every CISO in the SAP ecosystem. I feel like it is an uncomfortable truth for organizations. They think that they just deploy end user security on a laptop or a desktop, or they have it running in the background for their virtual systems. To me, if you don't have a CISO, you need to have somebody at least 25% of their time focused on security within the organization. Because at the end of the day, there are so many ways of getting hacked. We dealt with one of our partner companies that they were a data center provider, and one of their clouds was hacked. It literally had 3 of my customers in that system. We had told them a number of times of different things that were getting out of date and activities. You need to make sure of this, you need to make sure of that. Unfortunately, that organization got that stream hacked as part of a VMware interface, and things went down. I was spending 20 plus hours a day helping my team, jumping in. And the uncomfortable truth with that CEO of that data center organization is they got hit with millions and millions of dollars downtime. There was servers that still didn't come up that you had to deal with this. So it's one of those things where people think about it and then they just kind of throw it into the back of their brain. You got to keep up on all of your tools. You got to keep up with your applications and with your infrastructure. You need to go out to every single application, every single database, every single piece of infrastructure, and you need to make sure of updates. That's why they do the updates, for security's sake, for, of course, new configuration and activities. But without that, and just a organization outside of those 3, I know of an organization that has not shut down a specific server. They have one server that they use for an old R3 environment from way back in the day. If that system is to go down because of any reason whatsoever, literally about 4 million Microsoft updates would come flying at them, and they can't have that because you cannot change that system in any way, shape, or form because of the application that they refuse to update. And that would literally kill that system. And so we don't touch that system. We're like, guys, that's on you. But at the end of the day, you get some companies like that. Then you get people transitioning to new organizations. Somebody comes in from an outside entity and they don't know how or what. And all of a sudden, they decide to let Microsoft auto update. I
Oh,
don't do that in any way, shape, or form. Or something gets hit in with an application, or you get spamware that somebody opened up on their desktop and infects everybody because it wasn't updated. Updates are so important for everybody. Just make the time for them.
would you share your 90-day triage and transformation playbook? Well, what it would look like for, let's say, a global organization that has legacy SAP scattered cloud projects. Maybe they haven't done much with AI and they're facing some pretty bad rising costs.
Well, they are facing the rising costs. SAP licenses have increased. Cloud costs are variables depending upon if you OPEX or CAPEX. There's cost structures in regards to your infrastructure needs because now you're going cloud based rather than data center based, and there's different pieces. So the first thing we do, and a 90 days is being generous to some of these organizations. We want to go in and we literally look at every single application, every single tool that they're using as part of their network, every infrastructure piece. I want to know everything from your Barracuda networks all the way down to your servers, what versions. I need to know what versions you've got going on and how those versions are being utilized. We literally take a game plan and we go throughout everything. We even to the point of what are people using for their laptops, desktops, and stuff like that. So we literally have those discussions with everybody and lay it out. And from a triage standpoint, if we have to triage anything for an organization, what we'll do is we'll literally go through that process. Give me your documentation. Give me everything you got. Tell me every system you have if we've got to do a massive triage opportunity. I always call it the MASH effect. I used to love watching MASH when I was a kid, and I actually have all the DVDs out there. Some of you may not know what a DVD is. You got Apple iTunes, but we had DVDs back in the day. And I call it the MASH effect. You know, sometimes you're going to have a Corporal Klinger in there who doesn't do anything. Sometimes you're going to have a radar who does everything by the book and knows every bits, but you got to figure out which one it is. And so triaging systems and people, because people got to be a part of it. Organizational change management, if they are not capable and if they're not willing to do things, you got to take care of it from all directions. And that we bring that playbook in. If people don't have it, we're like, start filling this out, start working on this immediately. Let's go. What's going on? How are things working? Why are things working? And we literally go from there. It can be daunting at best.
Let's talk a little bit about your partner and ecosystem strategy. ETMA's all about partnerships. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for ecosystem partners as it relates to plugging into SAP as well as AI initiatives?
Yeah, it's partners are phenomenal. 75% of my business comes from partners. Dell, SAP America, Insight, which is out of Phoenix, Arizona. It's a global partner. You know, they're all great partners for us because we are an SAP and an AI-based organizations. And with them, I work hand in hand with them. We also work with like companies like Nutanix, and we work with Head Technologies. So we come in as their SAP partner, and then they bring the rest of the goods behind us that companies may want or need. So the great thing with that is we've got built-in people to help us with things that we don't want to do or are not good at. We focus on what we're good in it, and that's SAP with cloud and AI. So they take care of the rest. That's why partnerships work well when they're bi-directional. If you take a partner and you just say, hey, here's my list. Tell me who on there is your client so we can talk to them. That one might not get you too far.
You've led multiple companies. If you were mentoring somebody that was going to step into a leadership role, what sort of leadership behaviors do you think really make a difference?
Oh, I tell people all the time, if you want to be a good leader, be a good listener. Listen to your staff, listen to your customers, listen to your partners. And remember, God gave you 2 ears before he gave you the one mouth. So listen to them. Then have compassion. Compassion and empathy go a long way in this world. If you're a compassionate person and you're willing to have those conversations, could be tough conversations, could be great conversations. Make sure that you have compassion and empathy along the way. And then you don't have to be as social as I am. I'm a very outwardly person, and I wear my love for my company and my staff and my customers on my sleeve. But be somebody who's willing to have a conversation. I try to talk to one person as a part of my team every single day. We've got people around the globe, so I'll get up early and I'll call into Europe or India or wherever. And then I've got people that here in States that are on the West Coast. So I try to talk to each one every day. I try to learn a little bit about them, ask them how they're doing. When I fly around the world and I'm blessed, I try to meet them face to face as well and go from there.
Heard all this about SAP and AI. What's going to make this implementation and this deal different with your firm?
Well, first of all, we're certified and we're experienced. I've been doing this since the 1990s. Not too many of me around here that know how to take care of those activities. And that's why I hire certified consultants, certified staff, and we live in this ecosystem. We're not just playing here as part of a category on our website. We live here every single day. And that's a great thing for them as well as us. You're always going to be skeptical unless you've worked with us before. I've got hundreds of companies that I've worked with that they can get the information from. Not been fired from anybody lately, so that's a good thing. It's interesting from a CFO standpoint. They, by nature, need to be that way. They need to make sure of their funding. They need to make sure of facts and blah, blah. We provide all that to them. We'll be very upfront with them. We give them the upfront pricing capabilities, matrix, and activities. And then we prove it with our capabilities and skills literally on day one. And so it's good to work with us.
And then can you give us something memorable about your company that we could take away?
Oh, sure. I allowed marketing to let me do a video. I was unfortunately at my heaviest weight then after I broke my neck. But we did a video and we had interns running through the office. This was pre-COVID. I had my sports memorabilia on my walls and stuff like that. And we did a video of us chasing this young man in a hot dog costume who was trying to steal information, steal something. The only thing he could steal was the WWF wrestling belt that was inside there. So he stole the belt and well, I went in and I did the character of me, but I was running as the character from Happy Gilmore, where he's running down and he's doing the big arm. See, he actually was in a James Bond movie and was hilarious. I let myself be in that video. And to this day, I've got people that literally are like, that was not a good look for you. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. But you know what? It was funny.
A billboard in Times Square. And I said, distill that message down to that billboard. What would that billboard say?
I would put up a billboard of Approyo that says, when you're looking for your SAP migration or upgrade team, come to the experts, Approyo.
So let's switch a little bit and talk about early life experiences and maybe some people that might have set you on the path that you're on now, or maybe things that you did as a kid that resemble what you do today.
Yeah, the path that sent me down was in 1980, would have been 85, 80. What took me down that path is I got a Commodore VIC-20. And from that point on, I was in love with computers. I thought I was just going to use it for gaming purposes. I was a big Atari kid. I would win games. I would sit in front of the Atari and I would figure out the past. I won at Pac-Man and Pitfall 2s and Donkey Kongs. I would kick everybody's butt because I was really good at it. Well, then all of a sudden, through the course of that computer, I bought all the accessories. You had to buy these accessories. You had to attach it to your TV in your bedroom if you wanted to back and forth. And I did. And I took those computers to college, to Georgia Tech. And I fell in love with computers and coding and activities. So that was the time that Commodore VIC-20, the Atari 80, the Apple IIe, all those computers as I started. And I took the IIe and the VIC-20 to college with me and left the other one home. So I had it. And that was the path. That was the journey because it helped me to be creative and it opened up my mind to things that were possible. I didn't know how to write code. I didn't know what to do. And I just sat there and I just ingested. And that's what I do today. I literally ingest as much and as possible as I could.
What would you tell your younger self if you could go back in time?
To continue to be creative. You're going to have a wonderful creative career. You're going to always keep searching for your knowledge. You're going to get sick and tired of things at times, but always be curious. Keep being curious like you are. Read and invest in Apple again. And there's a company called Google that's going to come out. Invest in that one as well. But stick with that Apple. Even though they're floundering, stick with that Apple.
If your younger self were to be able to listen to this episode, what do you think would surprise them the most about where you're at today?
Well, first of all, I can't believe I lost all my hair. Holy cow, what did you do to me? Second of all, they would be, you know what? You did pretty good. You could have done better. I could have done a couple of things differently, definitely in my life. But at the end of the day, it's God's will. And that point, God has trained me to go in directions that he wants me to go. And I'm there for the ride and trying to do my best every single day to make my life as positive for others and to be a success for my customers, my clients, my partners, and go from there.
Is there any tool, app, or maybe some hack that you use daily that people may not be aware of that you would recommend?
Sure. I'm a big chat hub guy. I can have 8 different tools up at the same time to help me funnelize answers, code, and such like that. I work with a company called AI4B for business.com, and they've got this really great tool called Riven that I use. I can go out there and I do a lot of stuff inside of there that I work with my team. And the biggest hack I would say that everybody should do, no matter what part of the organization you're at, make sure if you're a yang, hire a yang. If you're a finance guy or HR person and you're very good at those things, find yourself a technologist to work with you and hire faster than you think you should, because that individual or individuals is going to help take so much off your plate that it's going to help you do more. And so with those activities, I wish I would have hired my COO faster, my CFO, CIO back in the day faster. And I also wish I would have gotten my personal assistant faster because she takes so much off my plate. It's incredible. And we work so well together. So between those 4, those would be my choices.
What are you passionate about? Hobbies or other things outside of work?
I'm passionate about spending family time. I travel a ton. And now with my wife and I being home alone without our children anymore, who are both nurses, I'm big time into doing family activities, trying to get with them. We just finished up one of our family trips. They went to Hawaii as our family trip, and it was fantastic. I love whiskeys and scotches. I think I have over 300 bottles of those that I like to get from different parts of the world, different countries, different distilleries. And then I love to sit at the sports books of casinos, watch 100 TVs, different sports going on at the same time, because my analytical mind loves to figure out what's going on this quarter, that quarter, who's going to be in the lead here, what's going to happen if that team wins there, what bowl game will they go to. I'll sit inside of a sports book, I'll rent a chair or a couch, I'll eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner there and just watch games until I finally, if I decide I want to gamble and bet on something. So it's one of those things where, to me, that's why I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different screens in front of me on my desk.
So where can the audience find out more about you as well as your firm and get in touch?
Go to my LinkedIn page and say, hey, I saw you on the podcast. I just want to connect. Just coffee, just a whiskey, just connecting, just a conversation. I have no problem with communicating. Nobody has to hire me for anything. Let's have a cup of coffee. Let's have a talk. Let's discuss tech. Let's discuss family. Let's discuss the world going on. I love chit-chatting with people. I'm one of those people. And then, so it's on my LinkedIn page is my number 1 spot. I tell everybody because I control that. Nobody else in the company does. Of course, you can go to our websites. You can go to approyo.com. You can go to Charging Bunny. You can go to Carter's Pub. Anything, if you're in the area, let's have a cocktail and a meal together. But LinkedIn is the number 1 place I talk to people all the time on.
Chris, thank you.
Thank you. This is fun. I appreciate it.
ETMA Tech Talk podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes research, collective wisdom, and action. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions from the market's top problem solvers, making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.